What's going on, guys? My name is Joey Speaks, and this is Everyday People, the podcast. Today on the podcast, we have Debbie Lopez. What's going on, Debbie?
What's going on, Joey?
Hey.
Glad to be here.
Yes, I'm glad to have you. So Debbie is the person who actually named my podcast. Debbie and Shelly, Debbie's husband, they gave me the two names I was going to use. And so at first I was going to do Chopping It Up with Joey. And Shelly had gave me that idea. And then when I started talking about it to a couple of other people, they were like, oh, is it going to be a cooking show?
Chopping it up, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't cook, but chopping it up is just kind of like, shooting the breeze, whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it definitely has a food connotation. And yeah,
right.
So, and then I was telling you about it, and you were like, oh yeah, like Everyday People. And I was like, that was it? Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
everyday people doing extraordinary things, Joe.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Debbie is the one who actually gave me the name for the podcast. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Debbie, so we have a couple different things we're going to talk about today. But first, let's just talk about how we met and what brought you to the gym.
Ooh, how did we meet?
I know, right? Yeah, where did you find me? How did you find me?
It all started back in July of 19. I had just gone through some brain surgery, and I was off work.
Yep.
And I was looking to get back to work, but I didn't know where I was physically.
Okay.
So when I was going through physical therapy at one of the physical therapy places that I was going to, they progressed me to working on my coordination, and they were just doing the mitts and gloves. And it was nothing formal. It was just kind of to see where, impact would, if it would irritate my neck, or how it would leave me, if it would leave me with vertigo, because they were trying to assess, where I was.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked it. I kind of liked the hitting.
You kind of like hitting things? We know
things.
this? Yeah. Wait. So let's back up. So, number one, I didn't know you were hitting mitts at
physical therapy, yeah.
I didn't know
they
that.
were trying to see if there was going to be any lasting impact on the neck. I had a brain decompression where it was major surgery, where they basically cut open the back of my head, and maybe Joey will show the slides of the lasting scars, but
yeah, the scar is gnarly.
It was basically the back of the cerebellum where you have balance. It was herniating my spinal cord.
And so what? How did it happen?
I had just had my left shoulder got hurt at work, and I had a rotator cuff repair, and I was on the mend. Kept getting headaches, neck aches. I progressively started to lose my balance, and I thought, what the heck's going on? I ended up going to another doctor where they did an MRI, and I'm kind of fast forwarding here, but there was something called a syrinx, which is a pocket of fluid in the spinal cord, and it was blocking the spinal cord fluid from going, so you progressively will deteriorate.
Okay.
I didn't know this. Neither did the doctor at the time. But once I had the MRI, I was finally diagnosed. It's something called Chiari malformation.
Chiari malformation.
And there's several grades, 1, 2, through 4. Okay. 1 is something that you're born with, but you're not really symptomatic. And it could either be show up in your early 20s, or it may never come up. But for me, it was triggered by a shoulder injury.
Okay.
So it was always there, but it got triggered. So once that happened, I started to lose my balance. So the doctor looked at my MRI and says, you need surgery. And I'm like, what? What does that mean? So basically, they go into the back of your head, they cut open part of your skull, and it's basically almost like releasing, when you have, like, say, need like a pair of pants that need to be made larger.
Yeah.
You're going to open them up.
Just let them out.
Right, let them out. So that's in essence what had happened. So they open up the skull, they open up the sac of your cerebellum, which is the dura, and they have to implant material. It could either be medical grade, or it could be your own bodily material, which they took parts of my thigh as material, and they patched me all up.
So you injured your shoulder. Mm-hmm. And they immediately said, oh, we have to...
And it triggered the Chiari malformation.
Got it, okay.
Where the cerebellum had dropped. Basically, It drops further in your skull, and it just kind of herniates your spinal cord.
Got you, okay. And then, so how about the shoulder injury?
The shoulder injury, it recovered, but it was the The problem was just the headaches and the neck aches.
Now, is the shoulder injury that you originally got, is that the one that you have had a problem with?
Oh, that's the left shoulder.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
we're talking about the right shoulder now.
Yeah. So
I got multiple injuries.
her body is a. Debbie's been through a lot, and so this is not the shoulder that you've had the other surgery on.
No.
Okay.
We'll talk about that one later.
Yeah, we will. Okay. All right. So, so then you started hitting mitts. And hitting mitts, if you guys have seen our videos, have you seen my videos where I'm holding the mitts and people were punching my hands and stuff like that? That's hitting mitts. You can either be hitting a punching bag or hitting mitts. And Debbie loves to hit mitts. And so, so you're hitting mitts at the rehab place.
Right.
And then so you said, I want to.
I really like this, and the therapist is like, yeah, maybe that might be something that you could, look into to see, where you're at physically, because they couldn't take me any further there.
Okay.
So this was probably in September. I had the surgery in July. This is probably September. It was around my birthday, and I remember thinking, God, I need to figure out where I'm at. Do I go back to work?
Right.
Or do I just stay off? So I remember looking up online, boxing lessons, and your name came up.
Hey.
And I filled out the little questionnaire, and I thought, maybe this joker won't even call me back or something.
The joker.
Right?
Yeah.
And right away, I got this return. It was you. You had responded to my request, and you said, come on in for an assessment. And I remember thinking, okay, I could try this. I remember I came.
Yeah.
And I think I brought my daughter with me.
As a matter of fact, you did.
I did.
You did.
I brought my daughter with me because, she was still very guarded with me. I wanted to make sure that I could get there.
Yeah.
And I came. And I liked what I saw.
Yeah.
We kind of did a little bit of mitts, and I kind of shared a little bit with you about what I had gone through, but not everything, because I didn't want to tell you everything because I really wanted to box.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't
tell him everything, because then he's going to say, no, you can't.
No, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
Right. Yeah.
But tell me I can't and watch
Don't
me.
do that, guys. Don't do what she just said. Don't do that. So Debbie immediately loved boxing.
Oh my God, yes.
You love hitting things.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I remember growing up, my dad used to take us to the boxing.
Oh,
and
really?
it was something that I always wanted to do, but it was,
Wait,
do it.
oh, for you to watch or for you to?
Would go with my dad to watch boxing
Okay.
all the time.
Okay. That's cool.
So it was always there. It was just,
Cool.
on the shelf.
Okay. So, what do you do for a living? Like, what's your job?
I retired in January 21. I spent 35 years in law enforcement.
Okay.
I was a police officer.
Yep.
For a large city. I won't say the name, but it was
Okay.
for a large city, and I started out in patrol, in a black and white, we call it pushing a black and white, answering radio calls. And, prior to that, I had gone to school to be a bilingual education teacher. But I always played softball growing up, high school, college. And one time, my sister, who was already an officer, she played on a women's softball team. Mm-hmm. And I still played tournament ball everywhere I went. Even though I was working on my credential, I was still playing ball. It was always a passion, hence the messed up body. But she calls and says, hey, you want to come play? Our third baseman didn't show up. Yeah, I'll go play.
You play the
Got my
hot. You
bag.
play the hot corner.
Hot corner.
What?
I was a catcher before, and then I played hot corner.
All right.
So I go play with these girls, and they're really competitive. And then I remember them coming and saying, oh my God, you got to be a cop. I go, why? You can play softball. I go, really?
That's one of the qualifications?
That was it. That was it. So, that's where the career began. I applied, went into the police academy. I came out and immediately was partnered up with another officer who was playing on the women's softball team.
Okay.
So as a younger officer, you don't really have a chance to have good days off. You're just at random. But because I was partnered up with a tenured officer who played softball, it was kind of like a scholarship, there inside. So I was able to get all the days off that I needed to go play with the women's team.
So if she has days off, you guys are
you're paired up.
schedule's the same?
Yeah, you're paired up with the same
it.
days off. So there was every year there was something that they had, like the police games, police Olympics. So each agency represented their agency in different sports, and we played women's softball.
Okay.
So we played every, I don't know, so many times a year. There were so many tournaments, and that's what I did. And ever since then, that was the attraction. It was forget the teacher, and then there's the adrenaline rush that every day was something different. And it was fun, back then. Not so much now, but it was fun, and that was the drive, the competitiveness, and then pushing yourself beyond that
Yeah,
limit.
Yeah. So I didn't realize how active police officers and firemen are. I saw like a documentary type show on I guess the New York Fire Department against the New York Police Department in a football game, and I mean like they're fully padded out. Like it's a real game.
It's very competitive.
Yeah, these are
extremely
30,
competitive.
40, 50, 60-year-old men.
Right.
I mean, out there trying to kill each other.
Right.
And I mean, it was competitive. It was.
And you find, inside of the departments, fire and police, you have a lot of ex-athletes,
Yeah,
from
yeah.
college, who some are even semi-pro, they transition into a different career.
Right.
But that desire and the competitiveness is still there.
Yeah. So if you don't mind talking about it.
No, absolutely.
Give me an idea of like what it's like going through the academy and then becoming a police officer. And then did you end up, were you a detective at the end? Or?
I ended up being a supervising detective towards the end. That's where I promoted to.
Okay. And a detective is were you in plain clothes?
I would do both. It depends.
Okay.
Majority of my career was undercover narcotics.
Okay.
So I was plain clothes. You had to be a good actress at times.
Okay.
But then, there was those times where you had to, take enforcement action. So the body was the last thing you thought about. It was all physical.
Yeah.
But, going through the academy, it's a semi-paramilitary organization. You're indoctrinated. It's like you do as you say, and there's no talking back. You just kind of follow along with the protocol. And they get you to a point where they push you past your limit. You think you're ready to give up, and then they push you further.
Right.
So I think that's where, a lot of the mental preparation is there.
Yeah.
Only knowing that, you got to go home at the end of the day. So you're not going to give up
Right.
at all costs. Right. That's
interesting. Yeah. Got to go home at the end of the day.
Right. That's what you think. That's your goal, is to go home at the end of the day.
Yeah. And so are you happy in retirement? Do you miss the action? Do you miss
I miss some of the people that I worked with, long time friends. I don't miss the chaos and the politics of the inside of the organization. But, certainly the job is rewarding. There's a lot of good and bad. Yeah. Some stuff you can't unsee. But then there's a lot of good stuff that you do, get to remember and cherish. That's there.
I bet. All right. So, so now I definitely want to talk about, your body, some of the surgeries you've had, the recovery that you've had. So,
oh my.
Yeah. So Debbie's body is a piece of work. Okay. That's the best way I can describe you. You've been through so much like physical pain and just,
suck it up.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. So you're a no excuses type. Like, it doesn't matter what has happened. And when hopefully I'll be able to show the scar, the picture of the scar, so you guys can actually see what it looks like. But that's just one of them. So didn't you get shoulder replacement surgery and then a reverse shoulder replacement surgery?
Yeah, I ended up having the left shoulder rotator cuff repair, which led to the brain surgery. Then in 2020, I had the repair for the right shoulder that didn't work. So they ended up giving and opting for a reverse shoulder replacement, which is, it was so frayed that they couldn't insert the ball in the joint the normal way.
Yeah.
So I have it set up the opposite way. And it's the titanium insert into the shoulder, the arm, and then the ball is here up on top, which is the reverse of the normal mechanics of, of a normal shoulder. Hence,
I didn't know that.
It's the opposite, yeah. You typically you have the ball on top and the joint. It's the opposite. I have the joint on top. So that's why there's.
So that's how come your arm doesn't do what it's supposed to do all the time.
There's certain movements you can't do. It's just how it is.
So okay.
There's that one.
So with something like that, so if you've ever had surgery, if you've ever had any kind of traumatic injury to your body, head injury, body, it doesn't matter. There's a certain level of mental anguish that you go through. Like when you're an athlete, it's not if you're going to get hurt, it's when. If you do certain jobs, it's not if, it's when. And, like if you are not mentally ready to deal with it, It'll break you.
It'll take you out.
It will break you, and you'll never get back to being the person who you were.
Correct.
What is it about you that I mean, like, you just have that it factor. Like there's no denying how you are.
If that shoulder surgery wasn't enough, during the surgery itself, the doctor inadvertently, however, pissed off the nerve. There's a brachial nerves that are in your shoulder that they have to move around so they can chip away some of the bone and drill in the metal implants. Well, that nerve was pissed off during the surgery, which caused nerve damage. And I'm right-handed, so everything you do is right-handed. Post-surgery, I realized that I had no use of my right arm.
I remember that.
I had the whole wrist drop. So it's basically almost the same as a person who has a stroke. It's called wrist drop. The nerve is damaged, so you have no use of that. I mean, it was pretty confronting, but tell me I can't and watch me I will.
Yeah.
And, and I think that's where that mental preparation that took me, 35 years prior helped me in the recovery.
Yeah.
Because without it, it probably would have taken me out. So, it was just having faith that it would get better and working on the physical therapy.
Yeah.
And I came back. I still have some nerve damage. This part of my wrist is still numb, but I love to hit, so it probably doesn't hurt as much.
Yeah. So like that's and I think that when people are talking about stuff like this, it's easy to just hear the words and say, oh yeah, like you got to be tough and you got to just, man, it's so much more.
More than that. Yeah.
It really is. Like
right.
The first couple of days after surgery.
The pain levels, they're extreme.
Yeah.
And you just tell yourself, okay, this is temporary. It's, and do what the doctors tell you. But at the same time, it's up to you as an individual to take your place and not let that diagnosis be your future.
Yeah.
They tell me one thing and, okay, I'll take it with what they're saying, but that doesn't mean I have to stay there.
Right. And there's good days and bad days.
Sure.
There are days when, you're thinking like,
it's not going to get any better.
Yeah, it's not going to, and this is how I'm going to be. This is, like when I had my hip replacement surgery, the second day after I got home, it was my worst day. And I was like, I'm going to limp forever. I'm going to walk like this. It's going to be and I mean, of course, you have that little moment and then, you just keep going. But like, it is definitely, everyone can't do it. It does get to some people and it changes them. And I don't even know that everyone realizes how much it does change them if they're not really paying attention.
Right.
Right. But I think it's one of the things that makes you the tough lady that you are. It's one of the things that makes, it's not a coincidence that your personality is the way it is and that like you haven't let any of these things, beat you, Yeah.
It won't.
No, like this I know. So how many surgeries have you had overall?
Let's see. I think last count it was 14.
14 surgeries.
14.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And the most recent was the knee replacement.
Yeah.
And I'm here.
and hopefully you guys see the videos that I post. Like, I mean, you see what she does. Like you see how she gets down. Like, it just does not matter what's happened to you. You keep coming back.
Right. You just can't let that stop you. Again, you just can't let the diagnosis be your future. You just got to keep pushing forward.
Yeah. I have a lot of respect for you and what you do. And I know how hard it is. And I know everyone, it's much, like I said, it's much harder than what the words say. And so if you have seen this lady do what I've seen her do, like you would,
and a lot, is you, Joey, you make the exercises, you do a lot of adjustments for me, and I appreciate that because otherwise, some people would just give up because you see that you can't do it the way it's designed, but you give those, those alternatives, so it keeps you focused and it keeps you engaged versus saying, okay, I can't do it, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome, definitely. And so that's actually a really good point. So, especially as we get older and, okay, so a while ago, when I was going through a lot of my physical stuff, I'm talking to myself one day, which is not uncommon. I'm talking to myself one day and I thought to myself, like, I'm actually proud of the body that I have. And I don't mean like in a vain way. I mean that, man, my body is broken. Like my body has been beat up so much. But when I die, if I were to die with the same body that I had when I was born, I would feel like I didn't accomplish anything in my life, at least for the life that I live. I'm an athlete. I do things. I throw my body around. If I hadn't gotten hurt, if I hadn't been through these things, I would personally feel like I hadn't done enough. And so like it was the first time I was thinking to myself, like, okay, because I've been angry, like about, my knee not being able to let me do this, and now my hip, and now my elbow, and like, and I was like, no, you know what? Like, this is your life. This is my life. Obviously, and this is the everything is relative. So I've had 5 surgeries. I've had more than my share of injuries. Then we're talking to Debbie. She has 14 surgeries, brain surgery, shoulder replacement, knees, reverse replacement. But like everything is relative. So like regardless of whatever I'm going through, there's always someone going through something worse, and vice versa. But I definitely realized that one day, like I was like, yeah, like, all right, this is, I just have to deal with what I have, but I'm proud of what I've done, because it's who I am.
And it's no mistake; it's an accomplishment.
100%.
And that's what you take from this. It's no matter the circumstances, it's the accomplishment that you have as a result of it.
100%. So one time, after I got done playing ball, it was early on with my wife. I'm playing football on the weekends with my friends, and make a long story short, one of the guys stepped on my pinky and tore the web of my finger right here, and you could see down into my hand like this, and of course it hurt. I kept playing, finished the game.
You can't cry.
Yeah, I had to finish the game, and so I get home, and I have my hand wrapped up in a shirt that's bloody now, and I get home, and Liz is like, "What the hell happened to you?" And I remember that specific incident, because I was like very, as a matter of fact, like, oh yeah, well this and this happened, and she's like, Joey, I can see the inside of your hand. And I'm not like a masochist. I'm not like and I don't want to make it seem like, oh, like I'm so tough, and it's not that, but it definitely is a mindset of,
yes,
like, okay, I got hurt. Okay, so
it doesn't create the panic.
That's right.
You don't have that panic as a reaction. You just kind of manage it. Like, okay, here it is. I guess I just better go see the doctor.
That's right. And there's a difference when you get hurt compared to when you get injured. When you are injured, you do not have the ability to carry on. That's when your bones are broken. Like you're like, there's something you cannot do. When you're hurt, of course, this hurts, but can you go on? Can you keep doing something? Mm-hmm. And whether it's playing or working as a cop, or like whatever the case is, it's much more of that as opposed to, I can't do anything.
You don't make it. You don't let it stop you.
Right.
And that's where the mindset comes in of pushing past those comfort levels.
Yeah. It is definitely. I would hope that everybody gets a chance to push themselves to a level that you don't think you can get to, and then you get through it, and then you realize how tough you are. And so in the transformation challenges that I do, in the description of it, I wrote that is that like, I hope that you get to see how much more tough you are than you realize, because you don't know until you know.
Right, and it takes you to the next level. It takes you to a greater place, knowing that I did that. Mm-hmm. Right. It
changes your mindset.
Absolutely.
And when your mind changes, your body will change.
Absolutely.
When your mind changes, your body will change 100%.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So next, let's talk about Shelly and Danny.
Oh my.
So Shelly is Debbie's husband, and Danielle is
my daughter.
Is your daughter? Yeah.
Well, Shelly's my husband.
Yeah.
He's just like this big gentle giant.
Yep.
He's so mellow. He's so like, okay, sure. Sometimes you just kind of want to poke the bear, but he just doesn't.
I feel bad for the guy who pokes that bear. So Shelly is, if not the strongest, one of the strongest guys in my guys group. So he trains with Debbie's in my ladies class, and Shelly's in my men's class. And Shelly's, if not the strongest, one of the strongest guys in the gym. And he's 66? Mm-hmm. 66 years
67.
old. Yeah, 67. And so one day we're deadlifting, and I think somebody had like 3 plates on there, 315, maybe and a quarter, maybe 365, something like that. And so it wasn't even Shelly's turn. He walks over to the bar, and he just picks it up like it was nothing. And everyone was kind of just standing there like, deadlift, if you've ever deadlifted and you can deadlift 3 plates, you're strong. You can get 365, you're strong. And so just as a matter of factness that he had about picking the bar up, we were like, yeah, this guy's different.
That's just how he is.
Yeah.
He's really quiet.
He is so quiet. And so when we finally got him to start talking, and there's a guy named T in class. You guys have seen T with Ron and T. T likes to give Shelly a hard time, but it is so funny. So Shelly is Shelly came to me through you also, right? Yeah. And you guys actually, so you came first,
right?
And then he started to join your private classes, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But Shelly is he's a really cool dude. He's a really good guy and strong as hell.
Yes, he is.
The quietest guy in the room, but he's the guy you probably wouldn't want to mess with. Mark my words. Mark my words.
Sure.
What say?
For sure.
Yeah. And then so your daughter Danny. So Danny's been here. Danielle's been here also, and so she is just a miniature version of you.
Scary.
Yeah, she's
also an officer.
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, she had a different career path. Mm-hmm. She wanted to be an attorney.
Okay.
And she decided growing up with me, obviously that was something that she enjoyed, So she's been on the department for coming up on 11 years. Proud of her. And inside of that, she went back to school, got her master's, and I don't know
while she was working, right?
While she was working full time, and now recently she'll be starting law school.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So.
That's awesome. I watched my wife get her master's, sitting in our kitchen on the computer every night for 2.5. Yeah.
Brutal.
While she was working full time.
Right.
So that's.
Yeah.
I'm not the school guy, but especially watching somebody get a master's while they're having a full-time job, that's pretty impressive.
Right.
So Danny is a monster. She's strong as hell.
She is.
She throws hands. One of the things for me as the coach when I'm, holding mitts for everybody, I can feel your energy. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I love most about holding mitts is I love to watch people's face and they get lost. Like they're just like, it turns into like
that intensity is just there.
Yeah, whatever the things that are going on inside of your head, you're taking them out on the mitts now.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to watch. And so we're going to talk about you in a minute, but so you have your own version of intensity, and Danny is just she's tough, man.
She's a tough.
She's tough. She really is. Super nice girl, and
but don't piss her off.
Yeah. Well, you guys are kind of the same way like that.
I know.
You guys are kind of the same way like that. You know what, guys? This is a good time for a quick little break. We're going to be right back. We'll be right back. All right. So I want to pick back up with just about your overall transformation from the time that you actually, you know what? Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So before you actually had your brain surgery and your shoulder surgery, what was your health like before all this happened, before the actual injury happened to your shoulder that caused the brain injury?
Before that, I was a regular workout, not so much in the gym. It was more cardio, a lot of running.
Okay.
I would do, the relay races. I would compete, in softball all the time. So there was never really anything really structured.
Okay.
The way I have it here with you. It was more of the, just working out, the gym, not the gym on my own, but what limited knowledge that I had at the time.
Okay.
And it was that. But again, and I'll be honest, I always struggled with the weight. That was always, there for me.
Okay.
Being kind of a bigger girl, always, I kind of thought, it was very useful when I was working.
Yeah.
Only because, you kind of have to have some weight and muscle behind you. And then playing softball, you always had the strong base, going, which was important, when you had to get physical with people. For
sure. So I grew up playing baseball. I had like a typical baseball body, kind of long, slender. I was always pretty defined, but kind of naturally, as opposed to lifting weights. I didn't like to lift weights when I was young. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't play football till high school, but I was a baseball player. And then when I got done playing the couple years I played pro ball, I went back to college to play football. And so I graduated high school at 175 pounds. When I got to PCC to play football, I was maybe $180 185, maybe a buck 90. And so I'm playing strong safety. And the guys who I'm having to tackle are big guys, 220, 230. And this is one guy, our fullback. So we had a great team, and our running backs were all awesome. And we had this fullback named Jay Hall. He was like 240.
Wow. And
in practice, I hit this guy as hard as I could. I literally knocked myself out.
Wow.
This is in summer, right when we first got our pads, first week of Hell Week. And I was like I'm just too light in the ass. I just don't weigh enough. If I was 190, 195, I'd be surprised. And I just started eating everything that I saw, and I got up to like 210. And I still have my speed, but I was bigger. And I had a six pack. I was really defined. And then it was the first time I'd said to myself, like, you need to sacrifice the way you look for your performance. Because playing baseball, it was not like that.
Right.
But football, like it's
different.
It's not a contact sport. It's a collision sport.
Right.
So I'd imagine you've had your share of fist fights.
A few.
Just a few. And so when you are a bigger person, obviously not too big to where you can't move, but when you are a bigger person, you have more power.
Absolutely.
It helps.
It does help. And, and again, when you're looking at your opponent, you're going to decide at that moment, is that something that I can take on or I can't take on?
Right.
And then vice versa. If they're looking at you, like if you're only like 110-pound female, they're all over you.
Yeah.
So, and you don't want to take it to the extreme, having to use deadly force. But, again, having that weight behind you and that solid base, made a big difference for me.
Yeah. And I think it's necessary in a lot of different places, like whether you're a police officer, whether you're an athlete, your size definitely will matter in specific situations, especially when it comes to being physical.
Right.
Especially.
Might not be so much for speed or running, but the physical part, it did.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you were in. Were you in relatively good shape?
I was in
before
relatively
this?
good shape. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really good shape. Like I said, just not as small as I am now. I was a little bit bigger, but a little bit more bulkier.
Okay.
And fit.
Yeah.
And played ball. But then the knee injury started, and then as the years go, you progress. A few pounds get packed on, and it gets harder to lose.
Yeah.
Your metabolism changes. And then you have the injuries that inhibit you from working out and exercising the way you used to.
It's a cycle.
It's a cycle.
It really
it's
is.
A vicious cycle. So to the point where you do get overweight.
Yeah.
And it makes it really difficult on the joints and everything else.
Yeah. And there's such a difference when you are 20, 30 pounds overweight compared to being, 5 pounds, give or take, high or low to your target weight.
Right.
Like your body just moves so much better, more effortlessly, and you don't realize it until you're not in shape anymore.
Absolutely.
We take for granted what kind of great shape we're in, maybe when we're younger or when we're in a certain part of our lives. But the second that you gain some weight, the second you go to get up, you're like, oh.
Just bending over, try to tie your shoes.
Yeah.
It was a task.
Yeah.
Sure.
So when you decided to get a personal trainer and you came here, where were you physically?
Yikes. It was, and roughly I was 200 plus.
Okay.
It was big.
Yeah.
The knees didn't work.
Yeah.
And I needed to do something. And I knew it was time.
And so, so this is interesting. So, okay, yeah. So you were 200 plus, but man, you were strong as hell. Strong. Yeah. You deadlifted 265?
Yeah.
Yeah. 265 is is heavy. It's heavy. Man or woman, 265 is heavy. So that's the thing. So for some people, being bigger, it may help them reach their goals. To where like some people just want to just be strong. So if you look at the difference in a bodybuilder and a strong man or a strong woman, the body shapes are literally two worlds apart. Bodybuilders are literally trying to grow their muscles as much as they can while they're trying to cut as much fat and try to be as defined as possible with the biggest muscles they can get. Strong men, strong women, they're just trying to get strong. They don't care if they get some gut. They don't care if they gain some weight. As a matter of fact, if you're not bigger, chances are you're not going to be stronger.
Right.
So it's a very interesting thing that when people really start to train and they get into, you start off with a goal, but then you might get strong. then you might, oh, like I like being strong.
Yeah.
Then the next thing you know, you don't mind having 5 or 10 extra pounds on.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so so when I'm bigger, I'm much stronger on my bench, on my squats. I don't squat heavy anymore because of my legs, but you are just a stronger person when you're bigger. Mm-hmm. The people who are not nearly as big but are strong, like that's real strength. Mm-hmm. It's real strength. So when you came here, you were about a little bit over 200 pounds.
Way over 200 pounds.
Okay, and and so when you first came, at first it was you, and then Shelly started working out with you. What was your idea of, like, how did you feel about just lifting weights in general and kind of like being on a structured program?
I think at first it was real confronting, only because I didn't have the knowledge that you bring on how to correctly lift and guide us through that journey. But I was very confident working out with you, knowing that you wouldn't take me down the correct path. And it became easy to come because I didn't feel like walking into like a 24-hour fitness or walking into LA Fitness. You go in there, number one, confronted because you don't really know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you have all these other people in there who are like just so picture perfect. They got the perfect clothes on, they got the perfect, weight, they got the perfect body. It's very confronting. You don't want to even walk in there because of the way you're feeling at that moment. But coming into you, Joey, it wasn't even about that. It was about just getting that knowledge and being able to exercise and perform at my level. Yeah. Not at somebody else's level.
Right.
And that was a comfort. It was easy. It was comfort to come in.
Yeah. That is so true and so important that you said that, because, like, you are you. Mm-hmm. Like if someone tries to keep up with you doing something that you're great at, they're not gonna meet you there. They can work on it in their own time and try to aspire to be where you're at. But like, everyone is different. And so one of the things, I'm so lucky, I started coaching when my son was 11 years old, and when he was 11 years old playing baseball. And I started coaching his team because the manager actually got sick and I took over the team. And I learned that I had all this baseball knowledge, but then how was I going to apply it to each individual kid? And now it's so different when you're dealing with a 10, 11, and 12-year-old kid compared to an adult. And so I quickly realized that I could not coach the players who were really, really good the same way that I coached the players who were not quite as good. And once I figured that out, and I kind of like, I knew I had to get to each person's level to talk to them the way that they could hear me. It made such a big difference for me as a coach. And then the cool thing is I actually started training a lot of the players' parents here in the gym. And I was like, well, why would I change my style? If it worked in that coaching arena, why would I not work here? And it's the truth. So like, you're in class all the time. Like, I coach you different than I coach Julia, or I coach Julia different than I coach Jean. I coach Jean different than I coach Letitia. So like, that's Letty, by the way. But so everyone's different. Right. And so the cool thing about, one of the things I love about my gym, and I really struggle with this, is if I want to get bigger as far as my gym goes, or I want to keep it the level it is, because there's like 6, 7, 8 of you guys in here, and I have my eye on all of you guys, and I can coach you individually. I can watch your knees. I can watch when you're doing push-ups. I can watch when you're doing your shoulder press. How's your arm moving? And I'm always coming over to you, hey, like, right. And so it is so important to kind of know your lane. And it's not that you can't get great in your lane, but I can't do some of the things that Shelly can do. I'm not going to go try to deadlift 365. Whether I could or couldn't, number one, right now I can't. But even if I could, like, that's not a part of what's going to make me good. That's only going to hurt my back, probably. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just make everything personal to each person. Yeah. And, just your knowledge and base around it makes it so much more comfortable and easy for us as the client to come out here and work. You just make it personal that way.
Thank you. And that's actually my goal. My goal is to make you feel like, not that you're the only person in the room, but I want you to know that, like, my eyes are on you.
But I am the only person in the room.
Obviously. One time I had 12 girls in here. And so in my gym, like right over here underneath the air conditioner, that's my little perch. And so I kind of like see it. And there were two girls over here, because it was so crowded,
Right.
that I didn't see them as much as when class was over. I was saying to myself, like,
Where'd they come from?
I knew they were there, and I knew that I had talked to them. I had seen them, but not nearly as much as I saw the other 10 girls.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't like that. You know what I mean? Like I like to be able to, have my eyes on everybody. So anyway, yeah. So I definitely think that as you started to come, we were lifting, but then there's certain things you could not do.
Right.
And so we didn't. And the one thing that I have figured out is there's so many different exercises to do. There's so many different ways to do this that you do not have to do one thing. You do the thing that works best for you. Mm-hmm. The thing that you love is boxing.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So in the ladies class, there's a girl named Jean, and when Debbie and Jean met, they hit it off immediately.
Of course.
And I'm not sure how this started, but Debbie was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna choke Joey and make him piss on himself."
It's still gonna happen.
Yeah, I have not. And if you remember, in the episode with Jean and Rachel, we were talking about this. I was like, "But Debbie, I love you. Like, why you want to choke me?" So like, the camaraderie of the class, immediately you and Jean hit it off, and one of the coolest things about the gym is that all the girls get along.
They do.
All the guys get along in the
We all
guys'
push
class.
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of crap talking. There's a lot of
I love it.
Yeah, but it's like it's our own team. Mm-hmm. It's our own locker room, if you will, and like everyone gives me a hard time like they give everybody else, and so
because if you're not getting picked on, then people don't like you.
That's right.
So you got to get picked on.
Yeah. If you're not getting picked on, you're not a part of the group.
Right.
Yeah.
You're part of the group.
And so in the group, we box often. And so Debbie has really long arms, like really long arms.
With the shoulder replacement, I do have an extra 1.5 inches too, so on top of it.
Great. So when we box, I have everyone hold mitts for each other at first, for the most part, and then we'll go through what the workout is, and then at the end, like, I'll hold mitts for you guys.
Right.
And it just is it's a cool thing to see, watching you hit mitts with other people and then hitting them with me. But like, man, you just love hitting stuff.
I do.
Where does that come from?
I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's just.
And can I be honest with you? I know that's a dumb question. Where does that come from? How I can hitting stuff.
Yeah.
But like the way that you I said, okay, gloves and mitts, or just get your gloves on. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
You're just ready to go. Just ready to go.
Yeah.
But it is. I'll tell you this, guys. If you've never boxed, and I don't mean boxing like to go fight or spar, nothing like that. This is a fitness class. Mm-hmm. What is funny is that when I do talk to someone who's a prospective client, they'll say, "Hey, do I need headgear and a mouthpiece?" Nah, man. This isn't that kind of gym. This is a fitness class. But the stuff that we do is actually real stuff, mm-hmm. And it's cool for me to watch you guys go from where you're at. I teach everyone from the basics up. And then one day, it just clicks. And I remember the day that you hit me real hard one time. I was like, damn. You gave me a nice straight right, and it was close to my face. And I was like, oh, I don't want to miss that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just that sense of being comfortable and feeling that sense of accomplishment. Like, yeah, I got this.
Yeah.
And it's something that you enjoy. It's not like just lifting weights. It's something physical, and where you leave it all out in the gym. You leave it there. You just don't leave anything behind.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things about boxing, or what we're doing here for boxing, is that throwing a jab and a cross and a hook and an uppercut. Those are the 4 basic punches, right? But then when you start slipping and rolling and pivoting your feet and moving your all of a sudden you realize hey, this is real.
Yeah. And I think for women, especially, at least from my perspective, it's gives you a sense of confidence.
Yeah.
Knowing that you can if you had to. Not that you're going to go look for it, and you hope it doesn't ever happen.
Well, you might.
But if it did happen, you have that confidence.
Yeah.
And there is just that little extra bit of knowledge that you have where you can.
Yeah.
And not be afraid of it.
Yeah. And I think that for the most part, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I think that most people are afraid of fighting.
People have never had a contact fight before, and it's very confronting for somebody who's never been hit.
Oh yeah.
You freeze or you see red.
Yeah.
And just being able to react to it.
Yeah, the people who see red, like that's just a instinct. It's just a reaction where you're not even thinking. But for the most part, I think that most people are afraid to fight. I mean, fighting is it's scary, whether you win or lose. As an athlete, practice is so important because you do something 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times, so that when you're playing in the game, you don't have to think. You just react.
It's a muscle memory.
100%.
Just kicks in.
And so what I hope is that, of course, if someone's ever in a crucial situation, of course you're probably going to be scared. But if you know that you have something to fall back on, that like you know how to throw a cross,
especially if you've practiced it
100%
in the gym where it's safe, and there's that confidence level that you're not going to be afraid.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a very instinctual, primal thing, and if you have the muscle memory of how to do something, things typically will work out better.
Yeah,
for you. Where my son does jiu-jitsu, and the level of confidence that these guys have, it's such a cool thing. The first time, so Josh and the jiu-jitsu guys, the Sunday boys, they come in, they work out on Sundays. And the first time I came in the room with them, they just have this quiet confidence. Mm-hmm. They are not one of these, they're not those guys.
Right.
They're like, hey man, how you doing? And they're super nice, super respectful. But I know that they know within 5 seconds, they can be coiled around your body, choking you out like a snake.
Right.
And it's the confidence that I love about them. And number one, they're all the guys I met as far as jiu-jitsu goes, they're all great guys.
And that's the discipline that's being taught.
100%.
It's not to be the showboat. It's just to keep it very humble. Mm-hmm. But you have the confidence to take care of whatever needs to be done.
It's a self-defense.
Absolutely.
But if you need to be on the offense, you got it.
You got it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Debbie has become really proficient in boxing. And, if you have the shoulder injuries that she's had, if your knees are not good, to be able to keep your stance correctly, there's so many things that are going against you physically, and you've still thrived. And it's been great to see. So when you got your last surgery, you lost a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
That was a journey that I knew I had to do something at that moment. I had the upcoming knee surgeries. The left knee is okay, but I opted for something more permanent. I opted for a gastric sleeve.
Okay.
Because it was to the point where I knew conventional methods weren't working, and it was that point where either I go diabetes versus no diabetes, mm-hmm. and I had to take charge of my own life.
Yeah.
Because if not, doctors couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And doing it alone was probably not the easiest. So I opted for a gastric sleeve. That mm-hmm. was in May of 2021.
Okay.
No, 22.
Yeah, 22.
22. And it was right before the knee surgery. So I had it in May, and then I had the knee surgery in June. And since then, I've lost 90 pounds.
Yeah.
And again, that wasn't the easy way out. People think, oh, you're just having a gastric sleeve. It's the easy way out. Nope. It took about a year to get to that point because it's something that has to be in consideration. You have to have a lot of the medical clearances taken care of first. You have to have the comorbidities, which was I had the knee injuries, I had the arthritis, the back, the high blood pressure on medication. I had the prediabetes. Mm-hmm. So there's all these things that you have to get screened for, number one.
Right.
And then at that point, you still have to continue seeing your doctor for the nutrition courses.
Yeah.
And that's 6 months of knowing how to eat. It sounds easy, but it's not.
It's not.
You have to make the right choices, and you have to have that mindset. Okay, am I giving it up, or am I going to continue my old ways?
Right.
So that's where that self-discipline comes in, and you got to decide for yourself: is this something that I'm going to be committed to?
Yeah.
And I was. So since then it's been 90 pounds. I still watch what I eat. You can't eat as much.
Right.
But you have to have the right foods. You have to look at the protein. And your vegetables. The starches, pretty much out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I never do. I do when I want. at minimum levels.
Right.
Because you can't do away with something completely, because then you're going to want it more.
Yeah.
But again, and then incorporating, your program, has made a big difference for me. You do have a lot of the looser skin, and I'm noticing a big difference where a lot of the loose skin is not there anymore because it's getting replaced with the muscle.
Yeah. So I think that when people get those surgeries, other people do think, oh yeah, it's the easy way out. It's you still have to do the work after the surgery's done. There's a lot of people who get those surgeries and they go right back.
Right.
Which
and
is
worse.
Yeah, which is very unhealthy.
Right.
Which is very unhealthy.
Because the weight will come back on quicker because you're at a calorie deficit already. So just eating one wrong thing, you're going to gain. But if you incorporate the gym and you incorporate the weightlifting and you incorporate the cardio, your metabolism will get reset again.
Yeah.
Versus staying at the minimum levels where it was before.
Right. And so I've been telling you guys this. I don't care how old you are. Things can be done. You may not be able to do something today at your age that you could do 20, 30 years ago, but that does not mean that you cannot do something that is going to really help you. And it really is a matter of figuring out what works for you, what you like, what affects your body best. Because, if this form of cardio works great for you, it may not work that good for me.
Right.
It's cardio, but it just may not affect my body that much. And that's, one of the biggest things that I do as a trainer is I will tell you, I'll tell Shelly, I'll tell everybody who I train, what works for me may not work for you, and we have to figure out what works best for your body. And there are things that are, of course, kind of across the board. If you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. If you're in a calorie surplus, you're going to gain weight. But certain foods, certain exercises, I love bench pressing, but man, my chest reacts so much better to dumbbells. I'm able to get a deeper stretch. I'm able to get a better squeeze. I'm able to move my hands more in an arc angle as opposed to going straight up. There's so many different things that affect my body differently than might affect someone else's.
Right.
And then how you do it. Are you doing a time under tension type rep, 2 or 3 seconds down, 2 or 3 seconds up, or are you just kind of running through your reps? So everything is very individual. Of course, you can just follow the program and you're going to get results to a point. But if you do it optimally for you,
right,
it works out much better. And so,
just being committed to, to what your goal is versus just doing it for the sake of doing it.
And so you're as healthy and
I'm probably in the best shape I've been in, I can tell you, like 20 some years.
Yeah. You look great.
Even though with all the injuries, I just kind of let those, that is what it is.
Yeah.
But it's not going to stop me from, feeling the way I do now. We
had Debbie and I were over here next to the punching bags about 2 weeks ago, and we were just talking about all of our injuries and how we don't let it affect us and we keep moving on. And it was a cool conversation between two people who've been through a good share of physical stuff. Obviously, you much more than me, but it's just it's kind of cool to talk to somebody with that same mindset, with that I'm not going to stop, regardless of how old I am, I'm going to go as long as I can. I can't stop. I won't stop.
Right.
I won't be. I know I can't do what I used to do, but that does not matter. And the funny thing is I don't even like to say that. I honestly say that for you guys. I don't say that for me, is that I can't do what I used to do. I already know that. You know what I mean? Now I do what I can, and it's going to be enough.
Yeah, different chapter. Before I would play softball. Now this is my focus.
Yeah.
Because I didn't do this before, and just knowing what my limitations are.
Yeah, definitely. Staying healthy, not getting hurt, not being silly because you want to do this, but you know it's going to hurt you.
Leave the ego at the door, and
That's right.
Not let that drive you.
Yeah.
Versus based on how you feel.
Yeah.
So
I was really looking forward to having you on. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things, everyday people. You are like the definition of that, and you gave me the name. It really is. I think that me being a trainer and doing the podcast and getting to know you guys, and I want you guys to get to know the people who I have in my gym and who I have on. I hope that you guys can not only hear Debbie's words, but like the videos I post and the different things that you may see from her on my posts, like she's been through it all. And I mean, look at her. Like honestly, like I hate to brag on you right in front of your face, but like it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's very hard to do, and it starts with your mind. It 100%. If you change your mind, you'll change your body.
Right.
And I firmly believe that, and I think that you're like a testament to that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the one thing I want to leave everybody with is trust Joey. I trust you with the exercises. I trust you with your training, and that's why I'm here.
Lucky me. Thank you, Debbie. All right, guys. You have anything else that you want to close with? Anything else you want to add or anything?
Do you really want to know what I thought of you when I first met you?
Oh my God. Yeah. So she texted me yesterday and saying, "Oh, I get to tell everybody what I actually thought of you when I first met you." Go.
When I first met you, I was just like, "Oh, look at this guy here. He thinks he's got like all that." And then when I really got to know you, I was like, "Wow, he's really a very down to earth, personable guy." And I could see the passion that you had with your business. And it's not just a business for you. It's about almost a family type of environment where you treat everybody like brother, sister, and friends. So yeah, that's what I really thought at first.
That's funny. Did I do anything that made you feel like that, or just what you saw?
I think I was being very judgy.
Okay.
I was.
Okay.
I was just like, because of course, I'm coming from that mentality of like, who is this guy?
Got it. Interesting.
So you proved me wrong.
Well, I'm glad about that.
So yeah.
All right.
And I remember telling my husband about it. And he's like, yeah, you got to try it out.
Yeah.
And yeah, here we are.
Yeah. Years later. Was it 4 years later? Mm-hmm. It was before COVID, right?
Yeah, way before.
Yeah.
It was before.
Right on.
So yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad that we're here.
Same here.
Well, thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, it's been another great episode, and I will see you in the next show.